Well, good morning. Welcome to C3. I'm Aaron, one of the pastors. We are excited as we're starting our brand new series, You Good. We're going to be talking over the next couple weeks about the struggles that we deal with in our everyday life and being able just to check ourselves and look into our own lives and make sure that we are that we're good. You know, I think a lot of us would benefit from someone asking us that. Are you good? I have particularly myself over this past week got a lot of questions about if I'm good because I don't adjust your television screens. I don't know if you can tell where I'm up here, but I have a huge black eye over here. And people are like, "What? Like, did Ellen? Like, what did you say to her?" Right? Nothing. It's not what happened. We have a basketball group that meets here in the building. We play right over on this side of the building on Wednesday nights, and I was guarding a guy, and he just took his forehead straight into my eye socket. So it stung a little bit, but I was like, I'm good. And then I wake up the next morning, I'm like, holy cow, I'm not good. And so, no, this is not makeup. I didn't smear my makeup. But anyways, so I told him in the last service, I'm going to do it again because I don't know which one he's going to use. But we always have that little like Facebook quote thing that goes up every week, and then they have a picture of somebody. So I don't want this side of my face. So hold on, let me do this. Hold on. Use that one. Use that still right there. Don't get any of this, all of this, all right? Because it's a struggle right now. I'm not going to lie. It's a shiner, man. It's a good one. It's a guy. I feel like Smalls from Sandlot right now. It's a really good one. Anyways, so we are starting this series, and if you don't know, we are in November. So what does November mean? That means the holidays, right? We are knee-deep into the holidays. We're ready to go. How many weirdos are out there like me and you're already listening to Christmas music? Any of my Christmas music people? How many of you like, you're a weirdo and I don't listen to it until December 1st, right? Or how many of you like, I hate Christmas music, right? Some of you may be haters, all right? That's okay. Some people hate Christmas music. To each his own. I totally get it. My argument I always make, because I do enjoy Christmas music. I listen to it. In my house, November 1st hits, I'm already playing it on my phone. I love it. I really do. My wife even, I think, gets a little annoyed with it, but I love it, right? But anyways, my thing is when people are like, oh, I don't, well, like, it's Thanksgiving. Hold on, buddy. We still got Thanksgiving. Don't skip over to Christmas. And I'm like, listen, I don't skip Thanksgiving, all right? I love Thanksgiving. But I just need some more music about Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you start giving me that, I'll start listening to it. And no, not those, like, nursery rhymes of gobble, gobble and stuff. No, like, good music. You know what I mean? That's what I want. But you don't really get that, right? But there is one song in particular that I heard a few years back, and it has changed my life, and it's the song that is completely in my head all of November. It's the only Thanksgiving song that I vibe out to, and it's literally me on Thanksgiving Day. This is my favorite Thanksgiving song.
Look at here. Look. I got beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, rams, hogs, dogs, chicken, turkeys, rabbits. You name it. Look.
Now it gets better. Hold on.
I got beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, rams, hogs, dogs, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken, turkeys, rabbits. You name it. Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, rams, hogs, dogs, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken, turkeys, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, rams, hogs, dogs, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken, turkeys, rabbits. You name it. Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, beans, greens, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken.
Okay, so that's me on Thanksgiving Day. I absolutely love it. That song is in my head all the time. And if you talk to anybody from the band, it's one of our favorite songs in the band. I mean, it's literally, anytime I see Alan Brown, we're always like, look, every single time. Absolutely love it. But here's the thing. Why do I share that with you? Because this time is exciting for a lot of people, right? It's fun, right? You got Thanksgiving. You get to eat anything you want and no one judges you for it, right? You got Christmas coming up and you buy presents and you're getting presents and you eat, once again, December, you eat all the fudge you want and nobody judges you, right? It's Christmas, right? Everything that you want and you get and it's fun. But the fact of the matter is, if we're being real, as much as we love the holidays, as much as we enjoy it, for a lot of people, this time of year is a struggle. For a lot of people, this time, it is really hard for them to exist for a lot of different reasons. But we're going to talk a little bit about two truths and the lie is what I'm calling them now, because we're going to talk a little bit about depression. Now it's my favorite. I remember I was driving here this morning, and this morning it was like, low 50s. The sun was shining. I mean, I had my music playing when I was in the truck, and I was driving here, and I thought to myself, what a great morning to preach on depression. Like, I do not want to do this, right? I mean, honestly, it's not like this exciting. You guys are probably like, oh, great, I didn't know what we were getting into this morning. Because we're talking about depression. It's never fun. The guy that we're actually going to be looking at in the Bible didn't have a fun story. He dealt with a lot of issues. But the fact of the matter is that we have to talk about this because it is a real issue. In this area in particular, guys, I don't know if you know anything about the tri-state, but man, Huntington itself, man, we're top 3 most depressing cities in America, right? And there's a lot of different factors that go into that, but it is a real issue. We deal with it, and it's something that we need to be able to hit. So maybe this time, the holidays, is a real struggle for you. That we're talking to you. Maybe for you, you have some feelings of depression or anxiety that you've never felt before, and you're not really sure how to work through that. We're going to look and see what we can do and how we can truly deal and battle with some depression that we may be dealing with in our life. Look at what it says in Proverbs chapter 12. It says, anxiety in the heart of man causes depression, but a good word makes it glad. So even from long time ago, they were talking about depression. They were talking about anxiety. They were talking about fears and worries. It has been a problem since the beginning of time. Jesus himself dealt with depressing situations and things that he went through where anxiety and fear were just there. And you say, not my Jesus. Yes, no, my Jesus, right? When he was praying to God in the garden, he was like, God, Father, take this thing away from me. Like, this whole situation is awful, and if you got another way to do this, do it, because I am literally so worried right now that I am sweating blood. Like his life was falling apart right then and there as he was talking to God. So understand that this is a real issue. But for many of us, we don't know why it's there. We don't know why we feel that way. We don't know why we're dealing with this. One of the things that we've discussed throughout the week as I was getting ready to speak is the idea of where does this come from. So one of the things that we talked about was the 4 root causes of depression. 4 major root causes of depression. It can be biological, relational, circumstantial, or spiritual. Sometimes it can be a combination, Sometimes it can be a nasty combination, but sometimes it can be a combination of these things. So what are they, right? Well, biological, without getting into the whole scientific part of it, when you're talking about dopamine and you're talking about, serotonin and hormonal things and all, you go into all that, yes. But the fact of the matter is that some of us are more biologically have an issue with that, maybe some more than other people. Maybe it's because your family dealt with depression. Maybe you start going through your line of your family members and you find out it has always been an issue and you have always seen your family deal with it, and for some reason you find yourself struggling with it and you're not quite sure why. So it could be a biological thing. It could be relational, right? Could be problems with relationships in your life, such as strained family situations and dynamics, things like that. Troubled friendships, maybe a friendship that relationship is broken, and now you find yourself not knowing what to do because that's who you spend all your time with. It could be an abusive romantic relationship. It could be, a husband or a wife that's physically or emotionally or spiritually abused. These things happen, and what they end up doing, you put yourself into a stupor, and now you're dealing with depressing thoughts and anxious things in your life that you've never dealt with before. Circumstantial, that's just anything happening outside of who you are, right? Things that are happening, whether it be financial stress. I mean, I think we all can say we have a dose of depression when we start looking at our finances most of the time, right? And just the state of what's happening, right? I get depressed every time we go out to eat and they hand me the check, right? I mean, it is what it is. It's a problem, right? Or maybe something serious just happened to you. Maybe you lost someone who was close to you. Maybe it was a loved one, it was a parent or a grandparent or a sibling or something has happened. Something has happened in your circumstances that has put you in a spot that you have never been before, and now you're dealing with these thoughts, whether it was a job loss, whether it was a relocation, whether it was a divorce. Whatever's happening in your life, it's real and it's happening, and you're trying to figure out how to deal with it. Or spiritual. Maybe for you, you're in a spot spiritually you've never been before. And what do I mean by that? Maybe you're at a crossroads where you're like, you know what? I've been going to church my whole life. I've read the Bible. I've heard preachers. I've heard songs and everything, and I've liked it all. But all of a sudden, for some reason, the things that have happened in my life, in turn, now I'm not sure what I believe. I'm not sure in who I believe. I'm not sure if I even believe. Maybe that's you. Maybe you're struggling with that. Or maybe for the first time, God's challenging you with something that you've never had to think about before, and it's tough, and you're not sure how to deal with the situation. God's telling you to do something, and you really are fighting him on it, and now you find yourself in a place where you don't want to move anymore in your faith life. So these things happen. They are causes, and they can cause you to deal with depression. They can cause it with one of them or all four of them. And maybe you're dealing with all four of them right now. And that's a tough go at it. But I want you to know these things are real. There was a guy in the Bible. His name was Jeremiah. And Jeremiah's nickname, whatever you want to call him, like his label that he's been labeled after all these years in the Bible is the weeping prophet. How would you like everyone to know you as a crybaby, right? So they called it, he was a crier. That's old Jerry. He's a crier, right? That's what he does. Jeremiah, the weeping prophet. So what he does is, the reason they call him that is because he was a prophet. Now, if you don't know exactly what that means, maybe you do, maybe you're smarter than a lot of other people, but prophet basically means this guy was given a message from God, and he has to share that message with the people around him, right? So basically, sometimes prophets knew what was being told, what he had to say. God would say, listen, here's what's going to happen. They're like, cool, all right, I'll let them know. Or sometimes they received a message from God and say, you need to share this with everyone. And they're like, God, I have no clue what this means. I have no idea why you're telling me to tell people this, because I don't even know what it means, right? Or the other part of it is, if you're a prophet, sometimes you get to tell good news. Like when someone in the Old Testament got to give a prophecy about Jesus being born and being the Savior. Oh, that's good news. I like sharing that news. Or sometimes they were given bad news. Our boy Jeremiah had to share the bad news. Jeremiah was tasked by God with sharing the prophecy that, hey, Israel, because you guys have done so many stupid things, you're done. I'm cutting you off. You're done. In fact, what's going to happen is you're going to be run out of your city. People are going to be put into captivity. They're going to be put into slavery. And this is going to be a bad time for everyone. So they called him the weeping prophet because he did not want to share this news. He did not want to tell them the bad news about what was going to happen. The whole book of Jeremiah, that's exactly what he's doing. He's saying, listen, here's the prophecy. Here's what's going to happen. It's not going to be good. And I don't know about you, but we like to kill the messenger, right? And so Jeremiah has to come with this bad news. Not only now does he not want to share this news, but now he shares it, and guess what? Everyone around him hates him. He has no friends. He's had to give this bad news. He knows what's going to happen. He knows the circumstances are not good, and now he finds himself in a horrible spot. And we've talked about how these different factors that go into depression and all these, you can talk about statistics, you can talk about scientific stuff, but in the end, let's also acknowledge the fact of how real depression is in our own life. I myself have dealt with doses of anxiety and depression and anxious thoughts and things like that for over 2 years now. And trying to navigate through that and figure that out sometimes can be hard, because you get yourself in a situation where you're like, I don't have answers, I don't know what to do, I'm overwhelmed by everything that's happening. And the only time, if you're like me, the only time you feel good and the only time you feel like you get some relief is when you take a nap, when you fall asleep. And then finally, those thoughts get to shut down for a second and you get to go into dreamland or whatever it is, right? But then it's the second that you wake up, it all hits you. Oh, wait, that's all real. Those problems still exist. My feelings are still there. All that starts to just flood back into your brain and into your heart. And all of a sudden, you're looking for relief and it's nowhere to be found. Jeremiah was a man who had a lot on his mind, on his heart, on his shoulders. And now, what we have in the next book, we have Jeremiah where he's sharing all these things. And then we have the next book where Jeremiah is now going to share his thoughts and the outcome of what is happening. It's the book of Lamentations. The reason it's called that is because of lamenting, of crying, of sorrow, of pain, of suffering. It's actually the whole book of Lamentations, without getting super duper biblical and fancy here. Basically, this is a funeral song. So really exciting things, guys. Like basically, because everyone just loves to go to a funeral and just jam to the tunes at a funeral. No, it's awful, right? Everybody's crying, nobody's happy. It's so sad. You're like, I'm happy. No, actually, I'm sad. Like, it's awful, right? I don't know about you. I've done plenty of funerals. I don't enjoy them, right? Because you're dealing with something that's so heavy. You're dealing with something that has a lot of pain alongside of it. And that's exactly what this book is. So I want to share with you some of the thoughts that Jeremiah has as he's written this funeral song, this poem, these words that he has. Because the first chapter, what he does, the first 2 chapters, basically he's saying, all right, y'all, here's what has happened to Israel. Here's what has happened to God's people. The second chapter, he says, the reason this has happened to God's people is because of who God is. And God is a righteous judge. And because you have disobeyed him, now we're all going to have to deal with it. Now we're all going to pay with it. But then in Lamentations chapter 3, we have a different version of Jeremiah that none of us have seen yet. He has written this song, this poem, talking about all these bad things that has happened to Israel. And then for one moment, Jeremiah says, I got something to say about my situation. Let me tell you how I feel. Look at what he says here in Lamentations chapter 3, right in the beginning. He says, I am the man who has seen affliction by the rod of the Lord's wrath. He has driven me away and made me walk in darkness rather than light. Skip a couple to verse 5. He has besieged me and surrounded me with bitterness and hardship. He has made me dwell in darkness like those long dead. He has walled me in so I cannot escape. He has weighed me down with chains. Even though when I call out or cry for help, he shuts out my prayer. Verse 17. I have been deprived of peace. I have forgotten what prosperity is. So I say my splendor is gone, and all that I had hoped from the Lord. I remember my affliction and my wandering, and the bitterness and the gall. I well remember them, and my soul is downcast within me. Jeremiah is not happy with God. Jeremiah, in this moment, after taking in all of this news and having to share it with all these people and having to deal with the responses of people hating him and pushing him out for the bad news that he has to share, he, in this moment, in the most real moment that you could ask for, he decides that he is going to be real and upfront with the God who created him and tell him how he feels, and it is not good. He literally says that the things that I am going through, the pain and the struggle that I am dealing with, God, you did it to me. God, I literally try to walk and I feel like you have chained me down. I need a little bit of light and a little bit of direction, and you have turned off the lights. God, I cry out to you and I ask for comfort and I ask for peace and I ask for some kind of answer, but you have shut me down. And you don't hear me. I remember the first time I read this, I thought, woo, Jeremiah, easy. You know who you're talking to, right? Like, I don't know if you read that and you think, lightness. If I brought one of y'all up here and you started talking like that, we'd all be like, I'm going to stand over here. Like, you just stay right there, right? Because the lightning's coming from somewhere. I don't know how this is going to go down, but you're about to die right now, right? Why? Because of what he said. He said, listen, this isn't a happy song I have for you. This isn't a great poem that I have for you. In fact, I feel like everything has gone wrong, and it's because of you, God. You're the one who has done this to me. You can feel the pain. You can feel the anguish. You can feel the depression in Jeremiah as he's weighed down by every bit of this, and all he wants is a little bit of relief, and he's not getting it. And so understanding that if we're going to actually do something about our depression, if we're actually going to do something about our anxious thoughts, if we're going to do something about the pain and the struggle that we deal with every single day, there are 2 things that I want you to remember. 2 truths and the lie. The lie being that we have to be stuck in this. But what is the 2 truths when we're battling depression? First thing is this. Your emotions are incredibly valid. I want you to know that. How you are feeling is real, but they're not permanent. Your feelings and the things that you are going through and the things that you are experiencing, I want you to know that every single one of you, those feelings that you have had, whether you've been bitter against God, whether you've been bitter against people in your life who have wronged you, whether you're bitter against just your mental state because you don't know why you feel this way, I want you to know this morning that those feelings are real and they mean something and they are valid and they need to be brought up and they need to be talked about. Those things are happening. And don't ever let somebody tell you when you're going through something and you feel all these emotions and you're just overwhelmed by it. Don't let them just dismiss you and say, it doesn't matter, you know the truth. Sorry, that doesn't make me feel any better. It doesn't. You know that's a lie, you know that's yeah, I do, but why do I still feel like this? Why am I still in pain? Why am I unable to sleep? Why am I unable to eat? Why am I unable to have real relationships with people? Why? Because your emotions and those things that you deal with, they're incredibly valid. No one can make those just go away by a word, by a conversation. They can, unfortunately. But I want you to know the good news is that even those things that are real, even that pain and that struggle and that emotion and that feeling that you have is inside of you, and that is absolutely real. I want you to know that those aren't the things that are permanent. Your feelings will change. Your emotions will change. If you're like me, my emotions change from day to day sometimes. Some days is a good day, some days it's a bad day, right? And some of y'all men are like, I don't have emotions. I don't know what you're talking about, right? I keep saying the word emotions, and Trent's just like, what's that, right? Understand your emotions are real, and they are valid, and they are there. Look at Jeremiah. Jeremiah is saying, listen, I get that you've had me do this. God, I know you're real. You've been speaking to me this entire time. You have tasked me, and I've been obedient to that. But now, look at how I feel. I feel like you've turned your back on me. When I've been nothing but obedient, when I've been nothing but doing the things that you have asked me to do. And I feel stuck. And I feel hopeless. But here's the greatest news that I have for you, that even in your situation, this is the last truth, even in your situation, if your situation truly does feel helpless, like you have absolutely nowhere to go, I want you to know that with God there is absolutely always hope. Even in the midst of darkness, with God there's always a little bit of light. Even in the midst of famine, there's always just a little bit of something to quench your thirst, to fill your stomach. You're saying, well, when does that relief come? When does that happen in my life? When can I actually find that? Well, there's a couple things that you can do that actually get you to the point where you find that hope, even when it may not be right in front of you. One of the things that you can do is talking about those emotions, right? You can actually name your emotions. Actually, what we find out is that when you actually start to name your emotions, that's the key to actually changing your emotions. Now, what do I mean by that, right? So we're sitting here, we're saying, here are my emotions. Here are the ways that I feel. Here are the things that I'm struggling with. I feel like I feel angry right now. It's like, okay, you're angry. Valid, 100%. You are definitely angry. Everyone can see it. Why? Well, I'm angry at God. Why? You see, Trent spoke about this just a few weeks ago, but we talk about the thing about the thing. And he talks about how there's an identity crisis that we all deal with where we say, this is the thing that actually I have built myself upon. For me in my life, I'm an approval person. I'm an approval person. I want people to approve of me. Even if that person means nothing to me, even if that person is not involved in my life at all, if I find out that a person doesn't like me, it tears me up. And I want to be like, what did I ever do to you? Why don't you like me? You can ask my wife. I don't ask for anything. I don't want her to buy me anything. I don't need any of that. All I want her to do is just look at me and say, boy, you're doing such a good job. And I'm like a dog just like, yeah, I am, ain't I? That's all I want. That's what makes me feel good. That's my love language, right? Because for me, all I want is to seek approval. I want to be able to have that. But on the flip side, when I don't get that approval, in fact, when people don't approve of me, when people have things to say about me, I crumble. I fall apart. Because I have built myself and my life and my identity based off of what other people think about me. instead on the one who created me with an everlasting love. And so what we end up doing is we find ourselves asking, well, I'm angry and I'm sad right now. Well, why are you so sad? Why are you so tore up? Well, because people are saying this about me and people are doing this about. Well, wait a minute. Why are you so worried about what they think about you? Because I need approval. There's the thing behind the thing, right? So for every single one of us, those emotions that you deal with, understand those are real. That's happening in your life. But why are they happening? Because in the end, you have to figure out the thing behind the thing. Name your emotions. Find those things. God, I'm angry. God, I'm sad. God, I'm depressed. God, I'm dealing with. If you are dealing with those things, find out why those emotions are there. And when you find the thing behind the thing, that becomes the door to be able to start changing and rearranging those emotions that you deal with. And you start to find that you can actually make a change with it. But one thing that we can't do, this is one thing. We cannot do this. We cannot make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. Too many times when our emotions get a hold of us, we start to base every single decision and major decisions that we have off of our emotions. And what we do is we make a decision, right? And people go, why in the world did you do that? I don't know. I was depressed. I was sad. All right? Wasn't a good move on my part. Why did you spend $800 at the mall yesterday? Because I felt like it. All right? I was upset. Why did you eat 2 cartons of ice cream last night? You're about to die now. Well, because it made me feel good in the moment. All right? Don't judge me. Right? This is what we do. We tell ourselves that if we just base it off of our emotions, in the moment we're like, see, that made me feel good because my emotion was this, but then when I had this, I felt better. But then we look at the long road and sometimes we're like, that was a mistake. Well, why'd you do that? Well, I was upset. Well, I said some things I shouldn't have because I was angry. And what we do is we make permanent decisions based off of our temporary emotions. But what we have to be able to do is see, just like what Jeremiah did here. Look at what he says. We go a little bit further, and he looks a little bit bipolar here, okay? But look at what Jeremiah does. He just spent this entire chapter doing what? Just telling off God. I mean, just getting himself in a pickle with God. And we're all going, Jerry, chill, dude, chill. Like, this is not good for you. This is not a good look, right? Look at what he does just a few verses later. Verse 21. Yet this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Verse 24, I say to myself, the Lord is my portion. Therefore, I will wait for him. The Lord is good to those whose hope is in him. To the one who seeks him, it is good to wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. That's my favorite line in this entire chapter. You want to know why? Because he said, it's good to wait quietly for the Lord. Really, Jeremiah? What I just read a few verses ago didn't sound very quiet. I don't think you're doing what you just told us to do, right? Did that sound quiet to you? Did it sound like Jeremiah was like, I know it's rough, but I'll be okay? No. He just told God off. He said, God, dude, I'm mad right now. I am upset. I feel like you are against me right now. And then just a few verses later, he's like, those who put their hope in God and wait quietly on the Lord. That's not what he said. So what's the point? Jeremiah, who is an imperfect human being, who in the very beginning was open and honest and filling out his emotions and showing God what he was feeling, in that same moment, he understood and he realized that true patience, true winning when it comes to our relationship with God is finding ourselves to the point where when we see those emotions, we're able to call them out. We're able to identify them. We know why they're there. We know why we feel that way. And instead of giving in to every single emotion that we have and make every decision that we make based off of our emotions, in that moment we're able to say, you know what? I know I feel this way, but my hope and my comfort and my joy and my purpose and my meaning comes from God and God alone. Not my emotions, not my pain, not my struggles, not my depression. So what does that mean? What can we do with that? Because here's what we love to do in the church world. When we talk about the subject of depression, we like to just say, just pray about it. You'll be all right. You just keep trusting in God. You'll be all right. And you all walk out and go, oh, that was really helpful. Why do I still feel like this? Why do I still struggle every single day? Why do I struggle to get out of bed? Why do I struggle to put on clean clothes? Why do I struggle to fix my hair? Why do I still feel this way? A couple things I want you guys to see because I think this is important to realize this, and then I promise we're done. First thing you got to be able to do, go get help. Go get help. Now, that's going to look different from other people, but the fact of the matter is I want you to know that depression is a very real medical condition, all right? In the end, I'm not going to look at you if you have diabetes and I'm going to say, hey, just pray that God takes the diabetes away. No, that doesn't work. You're like, oh, I prayed to take the diabetes away and I just had some Reese cups and now I think I'm going to die. Like, no, that's not how it works. You have to seek help. This is something that you need professional help for. And there are different ways and things you can go about it, whether it's medication, whether it's counseling, whether you need to actually get help. If it's something that is really taking over your life and your psyche and your emotions and everything that you are, please do not sit in that. Find help. The next thing you got to be able to do is lean into those people who are there for you. I want you to know that if you are here right now and you deal with depression, you're watching online, you deal with depression, you got something going on in your life, big or small, and you want some support, reach out to us. Get on the hub and reach out to us through prayer requests. Get on Facebook and reach out to us. I want you to know that every Monday, today when we get our prayer request that goes through the hub, what we do is every Monday is we take those names and we pray over those situations. We pray over those names. We don't always know the person personally. We don't always know the situation. But I truly believe that when people who claim that they're there for each other and they actually start praying and supporting and loving one another, we can actually start to see change. And so, understand, seek help, but also lean into those people who are there for you. Lean into to people at C3. We want to be there for you. We really do. And that's just not talk. We want to be there for you. Make sure you do that. And then the last one is this, and it's what we've talked about this entire time. Hold on dearly to God's promises. Because today, even though you may not feel like God is there for you, even though your emotions are telling you something completely different, I want you to know that at the end of the day, no matter if you try to make all the right moves, no matter if you try to take the right medication, you may still struggle with it, but I promise you that with God, there is a way out, and there is hope, and there is change that can happen in your life. It may not happen tomorrow, it may not happen in 2024, but I promise you, there is hope when you put your faith and trust in God. The last thing I'm going to share is this. The Apostle Paul in the New Testament, this guy who was writing to a church, and he said something to me that I think is very interesting, and it seems so close to what Jeremiah was saying. He told them this in Philippians chapter 4. He said, "Don't be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus." Whether you feel like you have hope or not, whether you feel like you have the answers or not, whether you feel like you're getting what you need or not, I want you to know that there is actually a place you can get where everything around you is falling apart, yet you can still have peace. And that only comes from God. Nowhere else. Would you guys just really quick close your eyes and bow your heads, and we're going to close up, but I just want to make sure, I want everyone to know in here, and I'm not asking for hands, I'm not asking for a big movement. All I want to do is this, because statistically, I don't need people to raise their hands. I know there are people here right now because I'm standing up here on this stage. There are people right now who are struggling. There are people right now, whether it be a big scale or a small scale, are dealing with these thoughts. They're struggling. They have anxiety, anxious thoughts. They're dealing with depression. They're struggling and battling every single day. And all we want sometimes is just a little bit of relief. This morning, I want to pray for every single one of those people. I want to pray for that situation. I want to pray for you. That as we're coming into the holidays, and sometimes this can be a hard time for all of us, I'm just going to pray for some comfort for all of us. And maybe this morning you're here and you've never given your life to Jesus. There's a lot of things that's wonderful about Jesus, but you know what one of the wonderful things is? Is that God knew that you were going to have depression. God knew that you were going to deal with anxiety. God knew that you were going to deal with these emotions. And do you know how He remedied that? Instead of us having to be like Jeremiah and call out God and say, God, you have no idea what I'm going through, He gave us His Son. And Jesus dealt with every temptation, struggle, and emotion that you and I deal with. That's why He came. His name was Emmanuel, God with us. So that when He came to this world, now God knows what you're going through. You are not alone. And this morning, maybe you're looking for that peace that passes every bit of understanding of everyone here. Maybe that's you. If you want that this morning, all you have to do is call out to Him. The Bible says those who call upon His name will be saved. That's it. You can call on His name by talking to Him. You can say something like this, Father, I know that I don't have it all together and I've messed up. But God, I know now that's why you sent Jesus. So that I could have a way out of this stress, of this worry, of this anxiety and this pain. And God, I still deal with it, but I need help. God, I'm crying out to you to save me, to change me. I truly want to live my life for you. Thank you for sending your Son to die for me. This morning, if that's you, I want you to reach out to us. I want you to take an opportunity to reach out to us through the Hub, through Facebook. I want you to make sure that you talk to someone about what you just did, because you made a major move in your life, repenting and giving yourself the chance to live a full, free life in Jesus. Father, I pray for every single person here. I pray for every single person watching online who may be dealing and struggling right now with the thoughts of depression and anxiety and worry and fear. God, I pray that we find ourselves in a place where we know that we're not alone. And God, that we see, just like Jeremiah, God, that we don't have to just stay in that. But God, with you, there is actual hope. There is actual change. There is mercy and compassion for those of us that deal with it. Watch over every single person here. We love you. We thank you. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Guys, thank you so much for being here this morning. We will be back with one more week of You Good. We will see you back next Sunday. God bless.